All right, how you doing, everybody? We should be live now. It's a Prepper Trifecta live stream back again. We got Dean and Che with us once again. Thanks for coming again, guys. Seems like your video is working now.
Invite.
No problem, no problem. How's everything going in your guys' neck of the woods?
Awesome. It's good.
It's
How you doing?
it's going. It's going
Yeah,
well.
right. That's awesome. The big news around here is everyone keeps talking about the cases going up, the cases, but the data that I've seen has shown that while the cases are going up, which might be a factor of testing, like we've said before, the number of deaths may actually be going down, which would be nice, and also could be a factor of who's getting it. Like at the first few months of this, it was running rampant through nursing homes and things like that. So now if it's kind of broken out into the wider population, more people are getting it, but they're people who are in much lower risk demographics. So the deaths aren't rising. So I'm going to share real quick to show one image that I found. I have not been able to verify this, obviously. I don't have the raw data to check it, but this is one of the things that I've seen. It says it's from the COVID tracking project, whatever that is. But obviously we see a huge spike in the tests, which is to be expected. Positives also going up. And what the interesting thing to me was the hospitalizations has a little bit of a spike there, but the deaths doesn't really, which, like I said, is probably, in my opinion, due to the fact that the people who are getting it now are in much lower risk demographics. So even if they get a serious case, it's really not translating into more deaths. So at least that's what it appears like. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, so that's very positive. There's so many factors and circumstances to really difficult to focus to actually know what's right, what's wrong, what's real, what's not real, what's
Right.
But that actually seemed like a pretty straightforward chart. It seems to suggest that in spite of the fact that large rise, that's a good thing. It really is a good thing. I think it sort of glorifies too, even seeing what's happening in the States, how different countries are managing the virus in general differently. Some countries are saying don't wear masks. Now they're saying wear masks, amongst other sorts of policies. But America is definitely, in terms of number of infections, I think the spotlight is on you guys right now.
Yeah, I mean, population's an issue too. Obviously, we just have hundreds of millions of people. So raw numbers are going to be higher for anything. As far as percentages and stuff, I think our death rate is fairly low. I think it's under where Italy was and all that stuff, and several other countries. But we're still hearing rumors of like potentially more shutdowns and everything, which I think would be way over, like a overreaction, and would be just catastrophic economically. I think to all these businesses have had to just reopen back up, and all the logistical work that it would take to do that and the costs involved with shutting down and reopening, and to do that again. Not only do I think people would just go crazy, I think it would just be like fatal blow for a lot of small businesses too, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's probably inevitable in the second wave. I want to elaborate for 10 seconds on, some countries have, it's the culture that if you're sick, you wear a mask.
Right.
Mediterranean, European diets traditionally are much more healthier than Americans. There's just a multitude of factors that are affecting susceptibility, and I suspect the death rate and whatnot. But speaking about a second wave, what's your take on that, Dean? Do you think we're going to have a second wave? Well, both of you, do you think we're going to have a second wave?
I think we are going to have a second wave. I think the real question is going to be the severity of the second wave. That's the only question, I think, for me at this point. I do have some people to speak to, hopefully within the next week or two, bringing them on my YouTube channel. Some people who are in the know more than I am and can glean some information from. But I think, I don't know. It's going to depend. Is there a seasonality to this virus? Are we just seeing a lull in it now because it's summertime? And is it going to reappear in the fall? Or there's talk about a new strain now coming around in the US, which is, a lot of people are saying this is what they're getting is actually a new strain of the virus, so it's mutated again. And then, of course, there's yet another virus that they're looking at. I think we talked about it a bit last week. A relative of the swine flu coming out now. So I really don't know what to think at this point. When this was coming down in January, followed it really well, and I think I hit it pretty much on the head as to what was going to happen. Now I really don't know. I'm still trying to glean information and separate the good from the bad and see what's going on.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That I don't know. It depends on, like, for there to be a true second wave in the way that most people are thinking of it, like, you know, real huge spike in hospitalizations, fatalities, number of cases, and all that. I think there would have to be some kind of mutation, because if nothing changes, I mean, with that chart that we just saw, even if many more people catch it at this point, it's just not necessarily going to translate into a huge problem, right? Because it's the people who are most susceptible. Like something like 40% of the deaths in the first month or two had been in nursing homes or something. So like if it just wipes out some of these demographics, then there's not as many at-risk people left to really be that negatively affected by it. So the fact that it's, yeah, right. The boomer remover or whatever, as some people have called it.
If all the seniors die, then we don't have a problem.
Right. Yeah. What's nothing to worry about. But so I mean, I don't necessarily think that we've necessarily seen the end of this first wave to begin with. You know what I mean? I think it's just kind of a little bit of a spike. It didn't necessarily dip low enough that I would consider that the first run of it has even been finished. First of all, so.
Yeah, it's probably just going to morph or evolve into this. You know, it's not going to be a second wave because the first wave never ended.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very sticky situation with what's going on down there in the U.S. because I think politics is playing a big part of it. Even with the social unrest, the nonsense. Maybe we can talk about the gentleman with the AR-15 and his wife outside the mansion.
Got some good memes. Got some good memes on that one.
Did you hear about that, Dean?
I didn't.
Okay, well, this was actually in St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken. It was the protest had made it into a very old but kind of, I guess, gentrified area of town where really expensive houses, you know, like this was an estate, you know, it was a mansion, and they were doing their protest walks or whatever, riot, whatever you want to call it, down the main road, and they broke through a gate into like a private drive. And they were on private property, and this couple came out, and the guy had it's a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. He had an AR-15, and she had just like a little Walther or something like that. But they pointed the guns at the protesters and told them to leave their property, and then they became, you know, a bunch of memes because they just looked like a typical upper middle class or upper class.
I'm gonna see if I can grab a quick 30-second clip video of it.
Of the video, okay, yeah, because all I've got are memes of it.
And it's funny how
I think I've got the raw picture here somewhere. But
people on the left are in support of the protests, the people protesting. It's very funny.
Right.
And the people on the right are generally in support of, you know, it's my property, I'm defending my property. It's
Right.
their property. You know, what's the issue? And they were threatened apparently. And amongst, you know, the one guy, the gentleman that's defending his property claims he had some guy smacking mags.
Yeah, he said a guy had loaded magazines, clicked them together, and said, "We're going to kill you," or something along those lines. So definitely, in my mind, I'm all in favor of people having the right to self-defense. And even if you get minor details of the case wrong, the bottom line is they were on someone else's property. And I am a firm believer in people who start fights shouldn't be angry about how they end. So even if someone goes overboard in a situation that you created, that's on you still, in my mind. So even if they technically broached some law, you know, I don't care. I still think people have the right to defend their, and they didn't do anything. They didn't shoot anyone. They didn't, you know, and they've been charged, I think, with some kind of like, were they not charged? I don't know if they were actually. I think the DA threatened, but I don't know if they had, because they're both lawyers too. So
yeah, they're both. They're both.
Here, I got the picture of it's not a meme, it's just the actual. Can you guys see that? That was the couple.
Yeah, I can see that.
So people were making fun of him because, like, obviously they didn't have great muzzle awareness. You know, they would like flag each other when they're walking around. He was holding a regular AR-15 left-handed, stuff like that. So people were all like, oh, they should be like a lot of armchair Rambos, in my opinion, too, critiquing them for stuff like sling and all this other nonsense.
Well, yeah, but on the other hand, if people want to protest, I mean, let them protest. Walk down the street, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I've got no
signs,
beef with
yell,
that.
scream. But the
Right.
second they crossed onto private property,
Right.
that becomes a different issue, in my opinion.
And especially in a situation like this where it wasn't like they're just walking and all of a sudden it becomes private property. No one knew it. You know, they broke down a gate, you know, to actually get into someone's yard. This wasn't, you know, like they're just crossing a field and some angry farmer comes out and starts shooting rock salt at them or something, you know, like it's very clearly delineated they were bursting into a residence.
I mean, if it were my property that they had crossed over onto, I can't say that I would be out there with an AR-15, but I would definitely be taking a defensive stance.
Yeah, for sure. You'd have to. I mean, you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
Eric, would you mind enabling the sharing?
Oh, yep. Sorry.
Hold to JJ.
Yep. I don't know why it makes me do that every time. But
I've got a 30-second clip.
I think you should be able to do it now.
Okay.
I need to set the defaults to allow sharing.
I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
It's gonna pop up in a second. There you go. Okay.
Always takes a second. So here's an image overview of it's sort of the gated community here. Oh, you can't see my mouth. It looks like
I can see yours. Yeah. So it looks like they were like 25 to 50 yards inside the property line.
Yeah, but it was still gated, and they broke this gate and they walked past. Apparently, the mayor had nothing to do with that place or that neighborhood. They were going after the mayor. But here's a video clip of the actual incident. Of course, it's all choppy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with this computer, the internet. Let's see if I can pause in a certain frame here.
Let it buffer or something.
Yeah, I'll pause right here.
But you can see, they're right up in there by their house. Dozens, if not hundreds of people yelling and all doing all those sorts of other stuff.
Right. Okay, so there she is. You know, people called her the Hamburglar. And then if we jump ahead, he's up there with his AR-15.
It is interesting to note that the first thing that like all these supposed equality and everything's tolerant liberals, the first thing they do is make fun of everybody's appearance. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it was. You know, it's. I think there's an argument on both sides. I hate to. If you're defending your property, yes, you know, you got to. People have died in the streets defending their businesses in the last, you know, not like 10 years ago, 15 years, like in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So of course there would be heightened everything, and you'd be coming out. I'd stand out there with my gun. I think she screwed up. Maybe it was the adrenaline, but she had her finger on the trigger.
Yeah, she was untrained. She said she'd never even like touched a gun before, basically. So that's not where you want to be, you know, in a situation where you're inexperienced for that. Because not only does it obviously better to be trained, it can put you in more legal trouble too, potentially, or just increase the risk of something bad happening. She could have accidentally shot not even her husband, but just if you accidentally pop one off in that situation because someone startles you, you know, and your finger's already on the trigger. Just imagine the shit show that could have developed.
Yeah, their house could have gotten burned down.
Yeah, or you go end up in jail for the rest of your life or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, it could have easily cost them their lives. I mean, one shot fired into the air could have cost them their lives. But again, like it's not like this was just overflow and there were too many people and we kind of walked onto their lawn a little bit. Like they were more than like a couple of feet on there. They broke down a gate, they went in, and they were there to cause trouble. So do I blame them for getting out into the yard with their guns? No, not where they are. I can't say that I do.
I've always said in a lot of my videos that we were never going to get lucky enough to get a full-on shit hit the fan without rule of law. It was going to be the worst of both worlds. So you have a violent mob that you have to deal with somehow, and then you still are in a situation where you have to worry about, am I going to get arrested now? You know, and by Monday morning quarterbacks, you know, and that's literally where we're at. That's what's happening. And this is going to happen more and more. where people are going to be put in situations where you have to make a life or death decision, and then it's going to be judged a week or two later by people who are worried about optics and politics and all this other stuff too.
Right.
MJ, question from MJ. Does JJ participate in the prepper trifecta anymore? No, we fired JJ. He's a piece of garbage. Lady at the gym said we caught him too many times urinating in the shower.
As I mentioned last week, JJ's in the process of moving several hundred or several thousand miles almost, so he's going to be busy for a few months at least. So.
I'm sure he's going to make a guest appearance soon, and he's going to come back and join us soon.
Yeah.
There's maybe you guys can fill me in on this. I haven't heard about this one. This is from the NZ South. What do y'all think about the march on Stone Mountain? What's Stone Mountain? Didn't hear about it. What's the march? Or maybe you could fill us in. The NZ South. It's very odd names on YouTube.
Yeah, right. What was
do
the
you guys
question?
know anything about that?
What was the question?
What do you all think about the march on Stone Mountain? I'm not familiar with any march on Stone Mountain.
Is that one of the Confederate? I don't remember all the names. One of the Confederate monuments.
Sounds like an American thing to me.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one, but I don't remember.
Obviously not a big news story. Didn't reach Canada anyways. I didn't see it in my feed. Do you know anything about it, Dean?
No, I hadn't heard about it. I was too busy watching the antics of Justin Trudeau.
I believe that's the big Confederate monument, but I don't remember hearing about any march on there. But I mean, that's not surprising.
No.
Oh, is that the one? Yeah, okay. So that's the one where there was like a 500 to 1,000 like armed black militiamen, like open carrying and everything, and yelling about reparations and stuff. Like we're talking like a full they were like basically marching military style down the middle of the street, like stopping cars and stuff. Pretty interesting visual there. I'll see if I can pull up the video. You won't be able to hear anything because I have the headphones in. It's not on speakers, but when it starts playing, I can switch over there. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing too.
I did see
that was at the
on Facebook about it. Ryan Powell is suggesting here: Stone Mountain Black Militia BLM armed faction.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you're right. Even if I don't agree with your political views, you have to support people.
And they didn't. I don't think they did any. They didn't harm anyone or shoot anything. So, but it definitely shows how things are escalating pretty significantly. I remember one picture I saw was a guy who had like a 22 AR-15 style 22 with a big drum mag, and it had like an active jam in it. Like he was holding the rifle, you could see that he had like a stovepiped round in there, and it's just like carrying it around like that.
Wow.
Pretty hilarious. This thing is making all sorts of...
Black militia.
Yeah.
Picture a bunch of liberals that are walking around in a militia.
Like 500 at a time.
Black, white, yellow, purple. A militia is a militia, and I think if this continues this way, we're going to see another event like what happened in Ohio in the early 70s, where the National Guard was sent in to quell a protest on a university ground. I forget the name of the university, and a bunch of students were shot.
Was that like Penn State or something?
It could have been Penn State. It could have been Penn State.
Neil
Young wrote a song about it. It was a whole thing back then. And if it continues with people running around with guns trying to force their opinions or force their whatever,
eventually some yahoo's going to pop one off.
Somebody's going to fire off a shot and it's going to go nuts. Yeah.
There's no way to have that many people with that many guns angry, and eventually some round doesn't get shot, squeezed off somewhere. And then God knows what's going to happen at that point.
It could be somebody setting off firecrackers two blocks away.
Popping a balloon or something.
Yeah, pop a balloon, set off a firecracker. And
someone just gets angry and decides to shoot somebody.
Yeah, it really doesn't take much to start. I hate to say it, but
that's why I said multiple times, I think people should stay as far away from these protests as possible, regardless of what your opinions on them are. There's just no good that can come of it.
I think you're familiar with the cheek horns.
The cheek horns?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that means.
Nope.
And Goss, no.
Not with no context.
No, just random words. Yeah. What do you think about the Cheekhorns testing their vaccine on Canadians?
Oh, is he trying to say Chicoms?
Maybe. I'm not sure. But I mean, if people are willing participants in a vaccine testing test.
Oh, Kent State. That's what it was, not Penn State.
Kent State. Okay.
Kent State.
Then all the power to them. But yeah. So I'm not. You probably have to elaborate on your question a bit more, Ann. I'm not too sure if I can help you.
I mean, testing that medical testing happens every day here. Every day, there's constantly testing done on all sorts of medications.
Yeah.
I think the question.
But I mean, I don't know if that was meant like surreptitiously testing. I don't know. I don't know anything about because like you said, if it's people who are just volunteering for some drug trial, fine. I have no problem with that, I guess, unless they're lying about some aspect of it.
I think the bigger question is mandatory. And there was a few different articles that were suggesting people are reacting psychologically the same way as they did with the Spanish flu. So this is to say that there was part of the population that was sort of denying the existence of the virus and denying the use of any sort of PPE or protective gear for whatever they had, considering it was 1918 at the time, as some sort of infringement on their personal freedoms and personal rights. There's people that have suggested, okay, mask is phase 1, mandatory vaccine is phase 2, and then the chipping is phase 3. There's a lot of wild, fascinating theories out there right now. I don't know what to believe in. All I do know is there's nothing wrong with being precautious.
Yeah. Have you guys?
Yeah.
No, I was moving on to something else. So
go for it.
I was just gonna say, have you guys seen? I forget where it was, but where they were protesting on the highway, and the people got two people got basically run over, and then it turned out it was like the protesters the ones who actually passed away was like a white non-gender binary whatever, and the driver was a black dude. It was like totally the wrong narrative that they thought.
That's wrong. Should be.
So it's a Black Lives Matter protest with this white girl who's like gender non-binary, and then the driver was some black dude. So
the black guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me tell you, if you're gonna have a protest on a highway or on a public roadway, come up to Canada, talk to our Mohawk Indians before you do it, because they've gotten it down to a fine art. They really have. They can block roads, bridges, railways, whatever they want, whenever they want, and they do it now in a blink of an eye.
Really? What do they normally do?
They just block it. They'll come in. They have all their machinery and stuff. They'll come in with dump trucks. They'll dump loads of dirt and whatever on the road and just say it's closed.
Yeah.
Well, the latest one was it may not be the latest one, but there was one in Southern Ontario, and they blocked entry to some sort of residential construction area. So they wanted to build some subdivision, and there was tied to some native burial ground. The natives said, no, that ain't happening. So I think the government bought off the property from the company, and they just sort of bowed down. They were very sort of submissive or supplicating to. It's a very sensitive topic. Dean probably knows more about this than I do. But generally speaking, if somebody blocks the highway, you get the National Guard in, they either move or they get the fist to the jaw, and they get zip ties around their wrists, and they get thrown into a van and taken away. Not in Canada. It's a little bit more, there's standoffs, 100 meters away, and nobody's really doing anything for a week or two. And stuff like that. So, thoughts on the Elk State destruction in Portland?
There's a statue in Portland that they destroyed, but it was just an elk. It's like, poor bastard. Poor elk never hurt anyone.
Wow.
I guess he was not woke enough. He didn't kneel, so the elk had to go.
Right. Well, maybe I
don't know what the statue was supposedly represented. But from what I've seen, it's just an elk statue. But I think they're just after statues now in general become a thing.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we talked about this last week, though. I mean, if it was done I won't bother rehashing what I said last week. 'Cause I don't know. People
Yeah.
are mental. I was talking with Christy
Right.
earlier, and I was suggesting that it's sort of asinine to watch this in real time right now. Humans behaving like this in such a almost a primitive way. It saddens me, you know, to see how people are
Yeah, very mob mentality.
Primitive mentality, just a lot of sort of, you know, angry, built up aggression. You know, it's 2020. We can speak wirelessly through the internet in real time.
Right.
Video. It's amazing.
Sometimes when your computer doesn't mess up.
Yeah. Thoughts, Dean? They took down an elk statue.
Let me try to see if I can find what that statue was supposedly for.
I mean, if there's no symbolism or anything on the statue, first of all, I don't know who would make a statue of an elk.
They're majestic creatures. What do you mean?
I mean, it could be just a fact of a bunch of kids or something that just said, "Hey, they're taking down statues. Let's go have some fun on a Saturday night." Like, you know, growing up in the country, I don't know if anybody else grew up in the country, but we used to Saturday night, if teenagers got bored, we'd go to the local farm and go cow tipping. And what it was is cows sleep standing up. So we would walk out in the middle of the field, walk up to a sleeping cow, and you can just literally push this 2,000-pound animal over. And the sound they make when they're falling over and waking up at the same time is just absolutely hilarious to a teenager. So somebody took down an elk statue. To me, it could be just akin to a bunch of kids going cow tipping in the middle of the night. I don't know what.
I don't know. It looks like the same groups based on these pictures. It says 120-year-old statue of an elk has been removed from downtown Portland after protesters lit a fire that damaged its base. The statue sits atop the David P. Thompson Fountain, which has been the target of graffiti and fires during the week of protests. I don't know who David P. Thompson is. The fire did not seem to harm the elk, it says, the public art collections manager says. The elk and the fountain were donated to the city by one-time mayor David P. Thompson in 1900 to honor elk that once roamed the Willamette Valley. So it's literally just a statue for elk.
Statue of an elk.
For elk.
The elk didn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, that's what I've said to people. Like, it's not about any particular statue. It's not about any particular term or anything that they're really trying to change. It's that they're just trying. It's a complete revolution, basically. They want to just wipe everything out, year zero style, start over with their rules and them being in charge. That's why it's stupid to apologize or play along or try to follow all these stupid little rules, because it's not about any of that, and it's not going to work.
Yeah. I think it just showcases the asinine mentality of the people that we're dealing with. It's pretty simple. They're
right.
Tearing down statues of elk.
And in any legitimate protest, you're going to have a group of people that are there just because they can hide in the crowd and cause some trouble. And
yeah, because it's fun to break things, just like pushing over the cows. You know, it's fun to just cause havoc, especially when you have nothing else going on and you're angry about whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in Montreal this summer, there was a protest about this whole thing. And they just decided to break into a music store in downtown Montreal. I mean, the place it's an icon for Montreal, Steve's Music Store. And they just busted into it, and they were people running out with armloads of electric guitars and whatnot. Yeah. And it's sad because, I mean, Steve's Music Store had nothing to do with any of this.
Right. Yeah. It's just none of those stores do. That's not the way it works.
But there was an opportunity and people took it. And
I always found that interesting to me, where they got this technique where there's a mob mentality, literally, and there's 10 of them in a circle, in a formation, we'll say, and they all got balaclavas, they all look the same. So one gonna run out and smash a window and come back and mix it, and that's how they hide their identity.
Right. Flash mob style.
What are they doing? They're breaking glass out of businesses. Sometimes it's like a Starbucks or something like that. You're like, we're gonna, get the man. Starbucks had nothing to do with the G7 summits or whatever it is you're protesting. So You know, it's just like I was saying earlier, speaking with Christy about this, it's very bizarre to see humans acting this way. And maybe it's an agitation. Maybe this is what
Yeah, I
ice
think so.
does to people that are extroverts, right? Yeah. If you guys don't mind, I want to bring something up that I heard.
Go for it.
Actually, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do memes real quick?
Let's do memes. Keep it light, and then we'll go into the heavy stuff again. I've got a few, so I'll jump off first.
You two can do memes. I didn't get any memes that I felt were share worthy this week.
All right, well, here you go. I've got 4 or 5, I think, so nothing too crazy. So most of them are related around our buddy, the lawyer here. Here he is in all, in all his glory. Then we have one here where he's steal the look. See if you too can be a defender of Western civilization.
Nice.
I meant to wear. I got the pink polo.
Oatmeal.
Yeah.
The name of the color.
Yeah, the oatmeal. And then my 4th of July plans. COVID-19. For those who haven't seen Rocky IV, Ivan Drago kills him. So, and here the doctor says, "Don't worry about exercise or diet or any of that. Just wear an old sock over your face. That'll fix everything. Even if it's dangling off half the time." Okay. And then it says, "Your dog isn't afraid of fireworks. They just hate freedom. Time for a new dog." And then we got, here he is defending Western civilization from the masses. Nice. And then it's back to my graph. So that was it. That's all I got.
That man is going to be
immortalized.
Metaphorically embedded in stone. Ironically,
right? Yeah.
He made a statue of him.
Someone needs to 3D print some statues of that, so you can have like your own little statue.
Yeah, gotta draw AR-15 guy day.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are good memes, man. I can't.
It was a good week for the memes.
Yeah, I've got one. I saw it on
okay,
Reddit.
It's all good.
I got Reddit the other day. You know this app?
Okay.
I have nothing on my phone because I'm just, I get Facebook, but that's on my computer, so that way I'm not obsessed looking at my phone on Twitter.
Yeah.
Shit
I took the Facebook app off there.
So, but it came once in a while I'm researching something, and Reddit pops up in the Google search results, and then it's an intelligent conversation. Well, some of the time it's intelligent conversation with people. It's just words. So what's the harm in that? I'm gonna get the Reddit app, and holy shit, it's fantastic. It's addictive. So I'm gonna have to limit my time on it. So I've got one.
All right, let's see it.
It has nothing to do with this, and I posted on my Facebook too. It is. I don't know why. I've just been laughing hysterically about it for the past 14 odd hours or whatever it's been. I got it. Should be able to share screen here again on this computer. You guys let me know when you can see.
All right. It says it started sharing.
All right.
Not yet. There we go. That's a picture of the house from before.
Yeah, I see that. All right. Can you see that?
I can. Yeah, the cat.
Oh, man, yeah, but my video is going to be all choppy, so you won't
Hopefully
be able to
not.
get it. Hopefully not, but we'll try here. We'll see what happens. But basically, the cat is. Oh, you guys can't see it. It's okay.
It's false, trying to get something.
Yeah, I just laid it right in between. And,
Oh.
Yeah. Next
Man,
week.
it sucks that the video is choppy.
Yeah, I know. I'll figure. Oh well, I'll just have to stick to pictures, I think. So
Monroe says, "I'm going to build a V8 Interceptor to cross the wasteland and make it to New Vegas." It's a solid plan. That's some Mad Max references for those who don't know. Question to the trifecta: what is the best news to watch on YouTube? I was actually going to mention that to you guys as well, because someone asked me like where I get my news from, and at this point, I don't have cable or really watch TV. I don't even really check any news sites. I'll occasionally check Drudge, but Drudge has gotten lame, and they're not even fast anymore. Like, they're not even first to find stuff. So honestly, in general now, I find out about stuff via Twitter most of the time, just someone mentioning it. And then I will just go actively seek out more information on that specific topic rather than go to a specific source. So for example, like New York City was to get attacked by a nuclear bomb tomorrow, I would find out about it by people talking about it on Twitter. And at that point, I'd go, oh, and start having to find out more information. There is not really any specific source that I go to for news consistently. Do you guys have any that you do that you would recommend? YouTube or otherwise?
No, I don't. I find that everybody, and I mean everybody, be it mainstream, be it alternative, be it whoever, is putting their own bias on everything that's put out. So
for sure. Yeah.
To pick any one source, no. I just couldn't pick anything. Take multiple sources, glean from it what you can. Look for commonalities between the stories from different sources, and you've probably got most of what you need right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I originally liked Drudge Report, was because it was just a news aggregator. It wasn't like commentary. It wasn't like, obviously I don't just think that anyone should even try to be unbiased, because that's when people you're basically pretending anytime. I think it's just better when people are open about their biases and you can predict it and work around it or know what they're doing. But, and it was just an aggregator, so just be links to a bunch of different sites of pertinent stories, but it's gotten lame and they're slower than they used to be. And there is more bias injected in what stories are selected and everything. So it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And then when you add in the fact that they're not even first anymore, that it's just no point most of the time for me to go check them out. He's gotten to be whiny.
Yeah, there's so much misinformation. There's so much paranoia. There's so much.
Right.
You guys have it right. I mean, there's a bias towards everything now. I find that with Campbell was okay. He seemed to be from a John Campbell, Dr. John Campbell, was out of the UK. Credible source of sort of the scientific information with respect to the virus. But I mean, this guy's just like, he's a machine. He's like, he's this old guy. He's got multiple videos daily now. He's talking about
who is it?
John Campbell out of the UK. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
It's to the point where it's too much. I like how Peak Prosperity, I think he was doing Monday to Friday, and he slowed down. He's just doing like Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
Grabs a ton of information. This guy was an epidemiologist. This guy's PhD anyways.
Oh yeah, I watched some of his videos. I don't know who you're talking about now.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be on the if there's anybody that was impartial with respect to information specific to the coronavirus, I'd say Campbell and Peak Prosperity. MedCram is all right too, but it gets very, on one side it gets very boring because you're listening to these sort of medical details, and then the other side it's why do you want to listen to all this nonsense, this bad news all the time and fill your brain with it, you know?
Right. Well, I just mean news in general is what I was getting at, but yeah, not even specifically for the coronavirus. But I have found myself being more likely to listen to overt commentary because like I was saying, you're not expecting to try and get some news. You're just saying, let me hear what this person thinks about it. And then you go say, let me hear what this person thinks about it. And so if you get enough different perspectives, you can sort of suss out a lot of real information, because all the people pretending to give you real information is just worse. The worst place. It seems like so-called news is just probably the worst source to get your information.
Agreed. I'm going to be back in 2 seconds, guys.
No worries. So were any sources that you, for commentary that you like, Dean?
No, I try not to pay too much attention to it.
It's probably smart too. I like to have a sense of what's going on in the world, but yeah, if you just let yourself get sucked into all that mess.
Yeah, I mean, news-wise, I stick pretty much to the local stuff that's going to affect me.
True. And they'll let you know of anything major national stuff too.
Yeah, even national stuff like, a meat processing plant got closed down because of COVID cases or something, then I'll know. Time to go to the grocery store like right now before the prices go up and the shelves empty.
Yeah.
But I mean, stuff like that hasn't been happening here in Canada much at all anymore in the past month or two, maybe.
Okay.
But it's still something I keep an eye out for because it doesn't take much to close down a food processing plant or a distribution plant, say a major supermarket's distribution plant.
Yeah.
They get shut down, and next thing you know, there's shortages and whatnot. But for commentary, nah, I try not to get too involved in that.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Here's something we should probably talk about a little bit. Evil Blonde mentioned it. The Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't know how you say her name exactly. Do you think anything will come of her being arrested? Her Epstein's confidant. Think she's going to end up suicided also, or start naming some names?
Yeah. One thing to say about that, just to get ahead of things, she didn't kill herself.
Yeah, right. Ghislaine Maxwell did not kill herself.
Yeah.
There was this movie called it was making fun of Lethal Weapon. It was called Loaded Weapon. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Had like Sam Jackson and Emilio Estevez in it. And this woman dies in the movie, and they're like, she committed suicide or something. She was shot in the back like 8 times, and they're like, looks like she caught herself by surprise. It always made me think of that. So yeah, so I mean, it's interesting that like, why now? You know, definitely weird. But I have very little hope. Like, we keep hearing all these like, oh, heads are gonna roll, swamp is gonna get drained, these people are gonna have this happen to them, be indicted. And yeah, it's great that Epstein got rolled up, that a few other small people have had things happen, but in general, we just haven't seen this, you know, swamp getting drained in the way that people have been saying that it will be. So I'm not holding my breath that any of these people.
Well, Evil Blonde, thank you for joining us again. It's our #1 fan, I think, Eric.
Yeah.
Look at Epstein, obviously, with the people he's associated with and all the nefarious, dark stuff he was into. There was some bad shit going on there. A guy had an island. Sure. In Maxwell, I think everybody's going to be even that much more aware to try and protect this woman, because there's, I
hope so.
You know, there's one theory I've heard that the whole coronavirus was a way to divert people's attention away from what Epstein really did. It's one theory floating around on the net, because it was, you know, it went up to royalty. I mean, what's higher than royalty as far as scandals are concerned?
Right. Yeah. And stuff like, yeah, like Prince Andrew and all that stuff. So
who knows? I don't know. What was the question again? How is it going to? What do we think?
Yeah, do you think anything will come of it?
It'd be great if it did. Nice to have justice. It seemed like Epstein was kind of a slime ball in that he he gathered evidence to sort of you know, he didn't get
blackmail or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Right. So
in the end, is anything going to come of it? Even if she gets convicted and sent to prison and mysteriously dies in the middle of the night by committing suicide by stabbing herself 17 times or something like that.
Right.
Is in the grand scheme of what that whole thing really could be, is that anything worthwhile, really?
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's more about, will she be naming names or uncovering certain things, making deals? Like, for her, obviously everyone knows she was involved. She's been arrested. I'm sure something will happen to her. But beyond that, I'm not holding my breath. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope people get rolled up, but
yeah. Me too. It'd be great.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she's transporting her to court, and she's
start spilling beans.
All sorts of, you know, SWAT team around her. She's all with bombs built up that to protect her and escort her into the building. And she's taking down huge celebrities and huge multimillionaires and various businesses and CEOs and things like that. You know, if somebody is hurting another individual and another human being, somebody that's underage, then I think it's unanimous that we would all like to see justice being served, regardless of who they are or how high up the chain they go. So what do I think? I think she should cut a deal if she knows something.
Yeah.
Yeah. She knows too much, Mark Olson. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for, I know I'm not signing off yet, but I just want to say, if you recognize a new face here, we've got JJ did not grow a beard. We've got Dean here from CanadianPreppersNetwork.com, who's joined us from Quebec tonight.
Also known as Ron Jeremy lookalike.
Right, apparently from last week. And you said you are going to be starting to have content on your YouTube channel. Is that correct?
The YouTube channel opened July 1st for Canada Day. There's one quick intro video there, and I'm starting to make content this week.
Cool. What's the channel name?
Canadian Preppers Network. You know what? I'm going to send you a link after we're
Cool.
done, and maybe we can attach
Yeah.
it to this video.
For sure, I'll put it in the description.
And there's nothing of any substance there yet. It's just me sitting by a little campfire at my house, telling you what the channel is going to be about, and guests and this and that. The only thing I don't do, I'm going to keep it the same way I do my website, my forum, and everything. No politics, no religion. It's just pure prepping advice and prepping talk. That's it. So,
well, if you want to get on the ground floor of his YouTube channel, swing on over there and sign up now, and you can say you're one of the first.
That's it. Sign up now. You'll be one of the first. And yeah, there's videos going to be going out this week for sure.
Awesome.
Do you have the chat window? What some people do, Dean, is, and that's why I'm looking over here. I've got the chat window of the live stream going on right now.
Yeah.
If you could get on that and post the link in the chat, then everybody can go click that, and they'll sub right now.
Or
so John Bibb is asking, what's my CCW? Are you referring to what type of weapon? Or are you referring to, because the status of CCW here in Nevada is it's a shall issue state, but the permit only refers to pistols. Like back in Florida, you could carry anything concealed. It could be a sword, a shotgun, a rifle, whatever. Here, the concealed carry permit only applies to the handgun specifically, not even to knives, unfortunately. But you can open carry any weapon and any knife. So, oh, what's mine? It depends. The one I carry probably most often is my LCP, Ruger LCP 380, because it's just so small. I can wear it with a variety of outfits, and still 380 is still strong enough that it's usable, effective. Beyond that, I have my Kimbert Ultra Carry 1911 45, and I also have Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm and a PT 709 Taurus. So that's just 9mm too. Those are the ones I carry most often.
Yeah, not in Canada.
Nothing.
Not in, well, we can't. I know. We've got a lot of money. I suppose you could. Interesting. So one thing I wanted to mention briefly, if you guys don't mind, maybe we could end on this. I'll get your thoughts. There's a gentleman, YouTuber, that, speaking of unbiased or impartial, I think he's very impartial and biased. He just he's a science-driven individual mind. He's suggesting the state of the solar activity in October is basically pointing everything towards there's a great chance of an EMP occurring in October.
What was the source of that?
Gentleman's name is Suspicious Observer.
Okay.
And he's been making solar science videos for years. And I can give you the specific link and even show you the I don't have it right now in front of me. Maybe we'll talk about it more next week, but
yeah,
coronavirus or no coronavirus, I think that would
definitely finish off 2020 with a bang. Massive EMP.
Yeah, definitely would.
Because I've long said, like, I feel like we hear this on a relatively frequent basis that, like, oh, solar activity, and I don't know enough about the science to know which of these is legit, which of these is real. But we have heard it several times over the past decade at least that there is supposed to be some sort, and nothing obviously has come of that to any major extent. So hopefully that's the case this time. But I do think, and I have said, we know it's happened in the past, like the Carrington event. We know it absolutely can happen. And I do think that something like that, barring a full-out nuclear war, that is one of the more likely or only things that could really plunge the entire country simultaneously into like a serious shit hit the fan event, barring an extreme pandemic, maybe like something in the stand or whatever. But because even something like invasions or civil unrest or economic collapse, I don't think would really put us in the Walking Dead or Mad Max type scenario. I think it would really take widespread loss of the grid like an EMP would do. So it's definitely something worth having some preparations for. I have some little Faraday cages with flashlights and whatnot in it and stuff like that. So
I'll take the precautions in very fair statement. And the way I would compare it is Ice Age Farmer compared to Suspicious Observer, where he generally he talks about solar activity in general, but there was some more concern about, for whatever reason, in October. Whereas the Ice Age Farmer, I don't want to say he's a prepper. He's just some guy that's just his whole business. He makes his whole job, his life is making videos and talking about food shortages. And every single video he makes, it's always a downer. It's always negative. It's always, oh, they're blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
The world's ending, sky is falling, just everything. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, which is, I suppose if you're in this for money, that's the way to go, you know, because people are, they're gripped on that. But that isn't the case with Suspicious Observer. 99% of the time, but in this one.
Yeah, I definitely would check it out because I find that interesting. And Mark Olson here in the chat made an interesting point too. Is that from what I do know about the science of this, it's more likely that like a nuclear EMP from like an air burst in a high atmosphere is likely to fry small electronics and things like that, whereas something like a Carrington event or a solar storm would be more likely to collect on the long power lines and blow out transformers and larger grid elements, but not necessarily affect our smaller electronics like flashlights. So honestly, if I had to choose one or the other, that would probably be better because most electronics we have in our houses and stuff might be okay if they weren't plugged in or if they had good surge protection and stuff. It would just be the major electronic substations and stuff that would get blown out. Whereas something like a nuclear EMP could fry almost everything. Depends. Just because of the way. That's how I understand it anyway. I'm hardly an expert on it. Bless you. Got that coronavirus. I'm hardly an expert on the topic.
Yeah. Well, just to put the EMP into perspective, in 1989 in Quebec and Eastern Ontario, there was such an event, and it was estimated to be, bless you, my Lord, you're going nuts. Yeah. There was a geomagnetic storm that hit us, and it was supposed to be stronger than the Carrington event. And what happened is it knocked out power over most of Quebec and Eastern Ontario for several hours. So it was kind of an inconvenience.
But a non-event, really, yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember it well because back at the time I was like 19 years old or something. And I'm like, yeah, like the sun could knock out hydro. Right, bullshit. But no, it was that. And the biggest pain in the butt was the fact that it hit late afternoon, right at the evening rush
peak hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And here I was on public transit taking the subway and just like standing around for hours waiting for the subway car.
Well, think about that. Like you talk about a subway. Imagine if right now, with the way things are with the civil unrest of everything, if power goes out in a major city for 12 hours. Imagine what that would look like.
Yeah.
Could get weird.
People will hack it. People don't know what the EMP stands for or what alone.
Right. And also, I would definitely guess that our infrastructure and everything involves a lot more sensitive electronics than it did in '89. So a lot more could potentially get wiped out.
I think so. That's right. Yeah. Well, it's a write-off. We have any sort of magnitude or any sort of EMP over North America, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Was it William Forstchen?
Yeah, Lights Out or 1 Second After. He did 1 Second After.
He did that. And then there was Michael Maloof. He wrote a really, really good book, more scientific. William Forstchen, 1 Second After, for the audience. If you don't know anything about EMPs, that's a really, really good perspective of the social dynamics of what's going to happen.
What was the other one you mentioned?
Michael Maloof.
I don't think I've read that one.
It's scientific based.
But it's a novel?
Yeah. I forget the title.
I can find it.
There's another guy, Jerry Emanuelson, and those three guys I consider the sort of like the pinnacle of EMP knowledge because there's no agenda for them. They just they want to get the word out. There's one, was it Woosley? That's the guy's name. Who's the CIA director. Woosley is the name. Woosley, and he had a big speech about it. It's on YouTube. You can find this video. And he's ranting about this years ago. He's saying, look, we're screwed.
Right.
What are we doing to help strengthen the infrastructure of the existing system? So when you have people, somebody within the CIA, the director, people of notable credible backgrounds, shrugging their shoulders and saying, this is a problem, what are we going to do?
Right.
That doesn't give me a lot of confidence that if it does occur. I did a presentation on this years ago, and one thing that sort of really made my eyes open up was the number of flights that are happening simultaneously. I think, and I probably
Oh, it's
not.
wild. Yeah. Like how many people are just literally in the air at any human beings floating around in the air at any given point.
So on average, they say there's
It's like
about
hundreds of thousands of people, isn't it? Something crazy.
and if
a
an
day.
EMP hits a certain part of the world, is well, that'll be the first indicator. Is we're gonna have all these explosions around the planet with all the airplanes falling out of the sky. So yeah, maybe we can get into that a little bit more. I'll give you guys the link after this.
Yeah, Mark Olson said, how useful are phones if satellites are down? Probably not very useful, but I was more referring to things like that. Even most preppers have a lot of electronic devices, whether it be a flashlight, anything from a red dot scope, to different types of mills or washing machines or ovens or just anything, that we use that we would rather not have be rendered inoperable. So
there's other options. So Dean knows a lot about the ham radio system.
Yeah, exactly.
Ham right there. And that would instantly become popular right again, I think. What do you think, Dean?
Oh yeah, and I have a couple of these sitting in the EMP proof bags too.
Nice.
Just in case. So
I imagine that if everything was like struck that way, that you would probably get some really clear signals without all the interference it would normally be from cell phones, from radios, from all these other electronic devices. You'd probably get way better signal than you're used to, maybe. Like after some major event.
Sure, especially if it's a solar EMP, the atmosphere is going to be super ionized, and
yeah, right. It's like,
maybe not with these things, but with an
shortwave
HF radio, you could go like talk to yourself by circumventing the entire globe. Probably.
Talk to yourself in the past, like in that movie. Talk to your dead dad or whatever.
Exactly.
What movie was that? Frequency. It's called Frequency. It's a good movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Where he talks to his deceased dad through his like ham radio because of the.
That he found in a box in the basement. Or
yeah,
something.
Exactly.
Hey, you there? Yeah, Dad. What was his name? The one guy played Jesus.
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah. Then the father
and Randy Quaid, or Dennis Quaid. Yeah, not Randy
Quaid. Famous 80s actor.
Yep.
Yeah. Frequency.
Good stuff.
That'd be kind of cool. If you're going around the planet, hello.
Yeah.
With the echo.
You get yourself in 2 years ago. You're like, buy masks. Sell them. buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
But sell it all by November 7th.
Right.
It's gonna crash.
Here's a question: will an EMP amplify all ghosts?
Yes. I don't. It's funny. Girls and their girls seem to be more prone to conspiracy theories and astrology and stuff like that.
Well, to the supernatural stuff. It seems like the guys are more prone to like the Bilderberg type Illuminati conspiracy theories, but the girls like the supernatural stuff a lot of time.
Yeah.
I went to the Zach Baggins Ghost Museum here in Vegas because some of my friends went. Yeah, it's apparently the guy who made the show Ghost Hunters, which I am not into at all. I didn't know anything about it. And I was expecting it to be like some fake haunted house type bullshit. And I was like, I do not want to go to this. But like my girlfriend really wanted to go, and a couple of my friends, and they're like, she's more into it because she doesn't give a shit about the ghosts, but she watched like a movie review podcast and they were like really into it. And so she just wanted to go. And, but it was actually more like a regular museum, which I was happy with. Like they had a lot of like serial killer artifacts, which I thought was pretty cool. Like they had the pot that like Ed Gein like boiled humans in. So I was like, hey, that's pretty wild. So yeah. But the crazy thing about that was they were talking about like they're like in Ghost Hunters season 17, and I'm like, season 17? Like how long has this stupid show been on? How many times can you go into a room with night vision set on your camera and act like you saw something? Like Jesus Christ.
And be like, oh, all the editing they'd have to do to spook it up and keep it interesting with the music.
Yeah, torturing all these poor ghosts, just trying to exist.
Yeah. What do you think, Dean? We should have got Dean's opinion. We're bashing ghosts. Maybe Dean is a big
maybe he's all into ghosts.
No, not something that there was Doomsday Preppers. that once we're talking about ghosts, though, was there not an episode where they had somebody on because they were told by the spirits from beyond the grave to prepare or something?
Wouldn't surprise me, but I honestly, and this may shock people, I've never watched a single episode of Doomsday Preppers. Just did not appeal to me.
Yeah, I watched a couple, only because I actually knew the people that were on the show. The premiere of it, the very first episode, had Lisa Bedford, the survival mom.
Okay. Yeah, I think they kept, as with any TV show, they started to get more, to out their people to try and, just make it like a circus act, basically, which I wasn't really interested in.
There was another one that was on a couple of years ago with a guy named John Melandrid. That was interesting, and he had an argument with his partner because his partner wanted to build a gallows in their survival compound for people who disobeyed the rules.
Thinking a little bit far, it's suspiciously specific.
Well, yeah, and I mean, John is not. I mean, he was the gentlest soul you'd ever meet, but yeah, I've watched a couple of them, but like I say, most of the ones that I got interested in and actually watched beginning to end were just because I knew the people that were
right. Yeah. So Mark says, J.J. Johnson is a ghost? ? He said, no, he's just that white. He's not actually a ghost. He's just like me. This is what super whiteness.
Yeah. I remember the one at the gallows. The guy was like, "Go have a worm burger."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I remember the one that heard the voices. She went into this building, and I remember they confronted the kids. She had this kid, and this is a lady, Eric, is like literally mental.
Yeah.
From all Western science psychologists who sit down and you listen to what she believes.
She's insane.
Okay, you'd have multiple check marks to say, okay, you're obviously off your rocker.
White coat, rubber room. She was the whole 9 yards.
Padded room level.
Yeah.
It's shitty because it paints a negative image of preparedness in general. I mean, there were some credible guests on there for sure, but then you get this mental case that's hearing voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have any of you guys actually had these, or even reporters that want to come and like, can we come and talk to you and film you doing your stuff?
I've had a few emails like that of people wanting to do like shows or interviews. I've always turned them down. Because honestly, from what I've heard, like if you walked into my house, you would almost never know I was even a prepper if you didn't know what to look for, like if you didn't notice the water barrels in my backyard and random without opening closets and stuff. So I was like, first of all, I would feel bad. 'Cause I'm like, I don't really have anything that exciting to show you unless you want me to open a closet and show a bunch of ammo cans and stuff, and some buckets of rice. And beyond that, I'm like, what can I gain from this? And I know that the way that they twist these things and try to make it seem crazy, and I just have nothing to gain. So I don't have like a giant compound that's set up with gallows for doling out punishment after the apocalypse or anything super self-sufficient homestead with solar and all this other stuff. So I mean, it's not really wouldn't be that dramatic anyway, or that impressive. It's just I have food stored away and supplies and ways to cook it and things like that. And that's it,
Yeah, it's not. And I keep telling these people that contact me, I'm like, look, dudes, it's boring. Like, if you're looking to be the next version of Doomsday Preppers or whatever, stop now, because there's not that many people out there like that. And it's boring. You want to come to my house and film me planting my garden or pulling my garden,
or vacuum sealing some rice in a bucket, just watch my YouTube channel or something. So but that's not to say that I wouldn't have an awesome huge survival compound if I had the resources, but just as of right now,
me and Dean have shared a couple links media wise in the past for sure. Just when you want to do an interview or blah 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 blah. I've done a couple of shows and just small stuff on Discovery Channel and stuff like that. The most disappointing one was there was an issue with the bunker, actually ironically from Doomsday Preppers. I think it was the first season. Bruce Beach, friend of mine, school buses, 42 school buses, underground. I had an event there, and he was defiant. He wanted save you the semantics of the details of the event, but the media was involved because he wanted to allow tours in the bunker, and the fire department said no. There's a big controversy, and he basically told the local police to go F themselves. He was an old man. He was like, we're having the tour. We're touring the bunker. People are coming to see the bunker. So it was a huge crowd. It was great. It was just this
Yeah.
I keep bugging Dean to come out to it. It's an annual event every year. And I think I might pay for your flight out here, Eric, next year for you to come, and teach.
No worries. I've got a bunch of miles, airline miles.
We'll work something out to teach a class. It's a great event. It's a whole
awesome.
weekend event, and a lot of experts, former military, some of the best edible experts in the world. A lot of edible experts. You name it, it's there. Anyways, media's there. The media's there because it's this big story about, the preppers want to have this event at the bunker, and they, the fire department wants to shut it down, and Bruce is being defiant. And I'm kind of in the middle. So they interview me. There's 3 or 4 news outfits that interview me, and they wanted something called B-roll.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar with it at the time, and B-roll is just
backup footage for to use.
Yeah. So we've got this one event where we dispatch rabbits, and we show people, we go through the motions of ethically dispatching a rabbit, skinning it, and you cook it, and et cetera, right? So I go and get, half a dozen rabbits or half a dozen rabbits, depending on what's available. And I said, hey, you want some B-roll? And the media was like, yeah, we'll get some B-roll. I said, well, I got some rabbits in my trunk. So I go grab the rabbit in my veg car. It runs on used veg oil. I got the rabbit. I'm just, petting the rabbit for B-roll, just because I thought it was cool, right? I watched the footage after, and they spun it, and they said, and there are controversial rabbit dispatching events, blah, 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 blah. I thought, what the fuck, right? Our conversation, the context of everything I discussed with them had nothing to do with the rabbits, but they found it after, and they had to, you could hear it in their tone. They had to spin it in such a way that's like, whoa, and then they're killing rabbits.
Yeah, that's why it's just not worth it.
No, it's not worth it. All right. I was just about to ask what happened to the. All right, I think we're about to sign out here.
Yeah, I got to call it a night here.
Can you hear the bunnies scream, Clarice was evil blonde? I got to read this shit before I read it out loud. I got to read it out loud.
The silence of the bunnies.
Yeah, silence of the bunnies. Yeah. Interesting guy. If anybody's in Ontario, I try to help him out in the wintertime. Last November, I do an event there, and we put wood from his garage into the basement, do that for a couple hours, and we tour the Ark, which is kind of fascinating to see. I'll take you up there, Eric. You ever come up there? We'll bring up a couple of boys, go into this underground bunker with 42 school buses.
That's awesome.
It's kind of a trip. So yeah. Let's see. We got time for one more question, and maybe we'll wrap it up. What do you gentlemen think?
Yeah, I got to go here pretty soon, so it works for me.
And then let's call it quits.
Yep. So who has the best?
Who's got the best question?
Pertinent question. It's going to be something ridiculous.
I have an idea for a guest who would be great for a future live chat. JJ Johnson of Reality Survival.
Boring. Boring.
Right. Yeah. We'll give it 30 seconds for a question, and if not, we'll sign off. I can't do the other questions here.
JD Johnson is a myth.
And
the man, the myth, the legend.
Just in case the viewers haven't noticed, the Canadians are now invading America.
Yeah, they're taking over. We got to beat back the.
You noticed that, eh?
Majority.
Slowly but surely.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but you said you're going to move here maybe one day, so I'm, we're trying to woo you over.
I definitely want to get some property over there.
Yeah.
But there's a girl out there in California. That's
there you go.
Kind of like her, so I might have to go up there.
Make a trip. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody watching. We'll probably sign off here.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions. So I'm Jay, Prepper Logic. Google my channel, Prepper Logic, if you want to see me rant about other sorts of stuff in the future. Dean, thanks so much for joining us again. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I think
always a pleasure to be here.
I
Appreciate
think
it, man.
we should have you again next week if you want to give your channel a plug. Tell me where they can find you.
Look it up on YouTube. I don't know if you're even going to get a hit now searching it on YouTube, but it's Canadian Preppers Network. You can always go to CanadianPreppersNetwork.com, InternationalPreppersNetwork.net for the discussion forum. Keep in touch. Like, I hope to be back here soon. If you guys are kind enough to invite me again, it's always great talking to you guys. Shay, as usual, you know, one of these years, I am going to get to that event.
You better.
I was going to do it this year. I really was. I was like packed up in the truck, ready to go. But this COVID thing, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks again, guys. Yeah, you're already on my channel as always. RuleTheWasteland.com. Stay safe out there with all the craziness going on, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.